All right. Good evening to everyone who is joining us from India. Good afternoon to all our Middle Eastern, European, and African friends who have joined in this call. And good morning to everyone who is joining us from the West. We are live. I can see that people have started streaming in on YouTube. And for those of you who have joined this call, can you let me know which city are you dialing in from? You can use the chat box to let us know which city are you dialing in from right now. All right, we'll wait for the another 1 minute. Can you let us know which city have you joined in from? All right, amazing. We have people dialing in from Ghana. We have Yashika who has joined us from Punjab in India. We have Jones from Ghana. We have people joining in from Prayagraj, India, Mumbai, Faisalabad from Pakistan as well. We have people joining in from different parts of the country, from Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad, and various other such cities. That's great. That's amazing. All right. So I am Moin Matar Naik and I am representing Seed Global Education today. And we have got an amazing and intuitive session coming up today on harnessing the power of artificial intelligence and data science by none other than Worcester Polytechnic Institute School of Engineering. Worcester Polytechnic Institute is a global leader in project-based learning, is a distinctive top-tier technological university. WPI's award-winning, pioneering, project-based, and globally engaged curriculum engages students in solving important scientific, technological, and societal problems throughout their education, on campus and at more than 50 project centers in the Americas, Africa, Asia Pacific, and Europe. They have a wide range of programs which are offered uh, for a Master's of Science in Applied Mathematics, Physics, Computer Engineering, Computer Science, Cybersecurity, Data Science, and the list goes on and on. Today, in this session, we would be exploring the transformative impact of artificial intelligence and data science across various industries. This session will delve into cutting-edge developments in AI, its integration with data science, and the future potential of these fields. Gain insights today on how AI is reshaping technology and driving data-driven innovation. Before we go ahead, I just had a quick poll for all of y'all who have joined us today. How do you think data science contributes to the advancement of artificial intelligence? I'll, yeah. Is it via data collection or via data analysis or via feature engineering, wherein various labels are featured, or via model evaluation, or all of them as such? All right, we have responses coming in. We would be waiting for another 30 seconds before we close this poll. Last 15 seconds. All right. So majority of y'all think that all these things such as data collection, data analysis, feature engineering, and model evaluation contribute to the advancement of artificial intelligence. That's great. All right. Moving further, I would like to introduce you to the esteemed faculty members from Worcester Polytechnic Institute who have joined us today. First up, we have Professor Lee, who is the Associate Professor of Artificial Intelligence at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. Professor Lee's research interests are in information retrieval, natural language processing, social computing, machine learning, and cybersecurity over large-scale networked information systems like the web and social media. He focuses mainly on threat to these systems and designs methods to mitigate negative behaviors. We are very happy to have you with us, Professor Lee. Thank you so much. Along with us, we also have Professor Agu, who is a professor of computer science at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. Professor Agu is currently a professor in the computer science department at WPI and has received his master's and PhD in electrical and computer engineering at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. His research interests are in the areas of computer graphics, mobile computing, and wireless networks. All right. That's up with the introduction. We are happy to have you with us, Professor Agu. Over to you, Professor Lee and Professor Agu, for taking the session further.
Sure. I think I can go ahead first if it's okay, Emmanuel. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you for your wonderful introduction, Moin. Actually, like our school name is actually pronounced as Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I know it's hard to pronounce. Like some newbies may say Worcester or Worcester. So yeah, okay. Let me share my screen and then I can talk about AIs. Okay. All right. So today, I prepared a 15-minute presentation about MSAI program at WPI, and I'm associate professor in an artificial intelligence program, and also I am graduate coordinator whose role is basically supporting graduate student in the program. So as AI is booming, becoming very, very important. And, many students or, like news media already reporting many bright future. Here are some numbers and statistical information, like more job positions related to AI will be created and you will have more opportunities. And also you'll become more competitive, to find good job or good, opportunities. So that's why Adobe PI recently started offering MSAI degree program, yeah. And here are some examples of related to AI, AI applications. So one of the, example would be AlphaGo, which is in 2016, um, Google DeepMind team, they built a deep learning based AI tool for Go game, and then competing against the human expert Lee. Another example would be ChatGPT. Definitely, yeah, I'm sure many of you are familiar with and have been using it. So yeah, that's another example. And if you ask lots of things to, large language model or generate AI tool, for example, in here, can you create a new story about ending of Game of Thrones? And then, the tool generating, hey, this could be another way to, make the story. And then this is an example. So previously in here, the original film is more likely, this size, right? Like wide size, but I'm, asking AI tool to, fill in and the other area to making vertical film. Now the tool can basically handle it. So it's amazing, right? So some people concerning about AI may, get rid of existing jobs and so on. So I think we should be prepared, by learning core technique behind the AI so that we are ready to be more competitive in job market in general. Okay. And also, traditionally, people use the well-known search engine tools such as Google or many other tools, right? Nowadays, there is an emerging AI-powered search engine tool such as like Perplexity.ai. So in which, if you ask something, for example, in this example, current AI news, and it accessing, recent news articles and with the general knowledge, used for training large language model. So adapting recently retrieved the data with the existing knowledge and then generating synthesized data, right? Like this summary of the recent news and then showing some sources from where the data coming from. And also, for example, e-commerce site like Amazon, they have been working on how to, apply generative AI or large language model into their products. So nowadays what they are doing is here's an example, like when you, search a product on Amazon, depending on your user history, your prior transaction information, they automatically, dynamically generating the title of a product. So users may not know whether the title is different for different users, but Amazon internally they are testing, what LLM, how LLM could be applied to their product or their website. So what's the uniqueness of MSAI at WPI? So we offer industry-driven capstone project as part of MS degree. So what does mean is we have industrial partners who have project needs, and then our student they can actually collaborate with those people. So external partners act as a mentor. So you will work with them, and some of the students actually get a full-time offer after this capstone project. And also you will have internal research opportunities with our faculty members, like through the independent study or direct research. And during the summer, like first summer, many of our students go internship, which will give you valuable work experience. And some of them may get full-time offer. So here are, our faculty members, the MSAI program is, interdisciplinary program. So what does mean is several faculty members, their background are data science, computer science, robotics engineering. So maybe some of you may be interested in, AI, robotics focused AI, program. So actually we offer that direction as well. And some professors have background from mathematics and physics. So MSAI degree consists of 30 credits, right? In other words, like you are supposed to take 30 credits to fulfill the degree requirements. And half of the 30 credit you are supposed to take 5 core bean courses, AI bean, ethics and AI, machine learning bean, knowledge and reasoning bean, and interaction and action bean. I will show you some of the specific courses under these beans. And then the capstone project, capstone experience that I mentioned earlier. And then the rest of credit can be fulfilled by taking more core AI bean courses or independent study or direct research, or if you're somehow feeling like a lack of some preparation, and you could take up to 6 credit in the preparatory courses. So these are one figure showing 5 core beans. Under AI bean there is a AI course. Under ethics and AI, there are 4 courses available, and one of them would be responsible AI. And under machine learning bean, you can see all sorts of cool subject, machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, etc. And also ML related to robotics. Another bean is called the knowledge representation and reasoning, in which you can see one of them would be machine learning development and operations. So not only just building a model in industry, they want to maintain and updating, continuously how to do it. So those are kind of main content that you could learn from this course. And under the interaction action bean, NLP, so which is related to large language model or chatbots, and generative AI in general, and then computer vision, information retrieval, human-robot interaction. So there are all cool, courses have been offered through AI degree program. Okay, and then since AI could be applied to many disciplines, right? So we allow up to 2 courses can be taken from any discipline graduate courses at WPI. So if you are interested in maybe game design, you could take game design related courses, or if you're interested in neuroscience, you could take up to 2 courses from neuroscience graduate program. I think that's it. And so this is our, mailing list. If you have any question about the degree program, you're welcome to send the email to us. And then this is our official MSAI program website. If you go there, you can get more information. And also there is a button to apply for the, the degree program, right? I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. Okay, so it's my turn to present. Okay, so I'm going to present on the computer science program at WPI, and but first I'll talk about sort of my research and the kind of AI that I work on, and then the second half of my talk I'll talk about the actual TS program, what it's involved, what you have to get a computer science degree. So first of all, this is my background. I'm originally from Nigeria myself. And I was a foreign student maybe a few decades ago. I got my MS and PhD at UMass Amherst, and then now I'm a professor at WPI. So right now I direct the clinical AI research lab, the CARE lab, and we focus mostly on the application of AI and data science in to meet various healthcare problems. So these are just pictures of my students and our research group. So we apply AI to many, many problems across the spectrum of the places where humans will get care. So we can apply AI in the clinic. So for instance, we're analyzing some, imaging like echocardiograms. That's like a heart ultrasound, is an echocardiogram. So we analyze it to detect various conditions or measure some heart parameters to see if the heart is healthy. Also, we have AI that supports a visiting nurse. So in the US, many patients are treated at home for wounds. So the nurse has AI running on their smartphone app that can guide them in treating the patient for wounds in their home. We also have some work that uses smartphone. The smartphone, like your Samsung Galaxy or iPhone, has many sensors in there and can capture audio as well. So in the real world, as a person is living their lives, we can do various assessments in the real world using a smartphone or smartwatch data. So I'll dive a bit deeper into a few of these projects just to give you a bit more of an idea of some of projects in these areas. So first of all, like I talked about, we are analyzing heart ultrasound. So the heart ultrasound is also called the echocardiogram. So we detect like a condition called HCM. So HCM is a condition whereby you are born with it. So it's an inherited disease. So what happens is that you're born with your heart walls are thicker than usual. And because it's thicker than usual, it's very difficult to pump blood. And then you have issues like irregular heartbeats, and it can cause death. So in many cases where you hear that athletes were playing a sport and they collapsed and died, in many cases they have this condition called HCM. Now, there are 20 million people in the world that have HCM, but only 1 in 7 are diagnosed. So it's 6 out of 7 people who have HCM are undiagnosed. So, and there are many issues around that, like for instance, the insufficient cardiologists, and many people don't have access to care. So with our AI, essentially you capture a heart ultrasound, and even a non-expert can pass it through the AI, and AI can tell them if the heart in that ultrasound has HCM or not, so that they can seek treatment. So, and I also talked about how we have a smartphone app that has wound AI. So at this point, there's this condition called a chronic wound, which is a wound that doesn't heal sometimes for up to a year. And because of the long treatment period, in many cases, the patient is treated in their homes by a visiting nurse that visits them. But the problem is that in many cases, there's a shortage of nurses. That's number one. And also the variability in the expertise of nurses. Some nurses have lots of wound experience. Some don't have much wound experience. So because of for the inexperienced nurses, they might make mistakes. And if they make a mistake, sometimes, then the wound gets really bad. And sometimes an amputation is the result. And after an amputation, 5 years from that time, the patient passes on. So we have AI. All the nurse has to do is take a picture of the wound. And from a single picture and a couple of many entries, the AI basically measures the wound size to document the wound healing progress. It detects the type of wound, and how severe the wound is. And then it generates a healing score, 0 to 32, by analyzing some medically important attributes. And then also tells the nurse what is the best treatment option. And then if the patient should be referred to the clinic. Now, these are all areas that nurses are making lots of mistakes. So the AI is able to basically automate this and with very high accuracy, get these parameters. Last, detailed one I'll tell you about is gait analysis. So gait is basically how a person walks. So we're applying it to many, many areas. So you can analyze the person's walk to detect many things. You can detect if a person is too drunk to drive safely, if a person is impaired by marijuana to drive safely, or if a person has Parkinson's and severity of the Parkinson's. And so essentially we have AI that can analyze the smartphone sensor, motion sensor, the accelerometer and gyroscope to detect if the person is too drunk to drive safely, if the person is impaired by marijuana, and also assess their Parkinson's severity. Okay, so I'll get into this. That's about my research. So now I'll get into sort of like overview of the CS program. This is just the CS faculty of about 26 to 28 faculty. These are just their pictures. And if you look at, these are the different areas of interest of the computer science professors. So you have, core computer science, things like algorithm, but also the AI faculty. Some people interested in, some areas are more to do with computer science, but some also heavily apply AI. So for instance, the learning sciences people are trying to use AI to have adaptive learning system, adaptive tutors that basically detect where a student is having problems and try to explain those parts of the material better. You have machine learning, it's part of CS. You have mobile and ubiquitous computing. So essentially, some of the courses are more CS, some of the courses are more core computer science. So there's an intersection between the AI program, the data science program, and also the computer science program. So in terms of the degrees that you can get, so essentially from the CS department, there are two types of masters you can get. So roughly speaking, the first one is just a MS, whereby your undergrad was computer science beforehand. Then you have the MCS, whereby you were from a different major, like accounting or some other degree that was not computer science. So it helps you to transition from this non-CS background into a CS background. And then you can get a PhD as well. So when you get into the MS program, there's also two options. You can just take courses. So you need 30 credits to get a master's in computer science. You can just take 10 courses. Each course is about 3 credits. You can just take 10 courses and get your degree, and that's it. Alternatively, you can also take 7 courses and then do 9 credits of a thesis, right? So either all courses or some course, a thesis, and then the rest courses. So those are two broad approaches. So these are also some of the courses that are offered in various bins. So you will be required to take, a number of courses from different bins to fulfill your requirements. So for the PhD, I'll just touch on that a bit. So there's 2 levels of PhDs. There's a PhD 60, and that is a person who has previously gotten an MS either at WPI or elsewhere, and then they just go straight into the PhD program, and then they need to complete 60 more credits, which is, or you have a PhD 90, a student who has just done a bachelor's, and then they do an MS first, and then continue to a PhD. So the first one is if you have a master's. The second one is if you don't have a master's and you want to get a master's first and then the PhD in the program. So one of the obviously the things that people ask about is, okay, what about funding? Because many people who email, they want to know about funding. So there's many types of funding you can get. You can get, fellowships, or for instance, scholarships. Sometimes your country might fund you, or fellowships from groups like the Fulbright, some who fund students for international study. You can get a teaching assistantship where you're paid to assist a professor in courses. It can, essentially you're doing things like, grading papers. You're helping to assist undergrads in their work, and then you get paid for that. And also you get your tuition paid and a stipend as well. The third one is RA, whereby a professor with some research funding can fund you to work on certain topics, whereby, while getting your master's or your PhD, you work on some research, and then you also get your tuition covered, and you get paid as well. So the fourth one is, you can get a TA or RA in another department. So for instance, a non-CS department may need a TA who has some computer science background, and you might also qualify for that. And then also on campus, there's other hourly jobs that you can get, grader positions, programming positions, and other on-campus jobs you get paid as well. So, and I think that's it for me, I believe. So I'll just stop there.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Agu and Professor Lee, for walking us through all the details, talking about the topic in greater detail, explaining about the different programs. And thank you so much for such an elaborate discussion. There have been a lot of questions which have come in the chat box, which we would be taking at the end of this session. Moving on, we have the next presentation by Mr. Daniel Richer. He is the Executive Director of Enrollment Strategy at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. He is responsible for successful marketing and recruitment of WPI's graduate programs by providing direction and strategy for the enrollment team. We are happy to have you with us, Daniel. Before I hand over the floor to you, Daniel, just a quick announcement to everyone who has joined this call. We also have one-to-one profile evaluation scheduled with Mr. Daniel Richer next Monday on 25th of November. We would be putting up the details on the chat. So if you have any specific question about your individual profile, which you would like to ask to Mr. Daniel, then we request you to register for the session and book a slot for the profile evaluation. Over to you, Daniel.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Dr. Agu, Dr. Lee, thank you so much for this very informative presentation. My big takeaway is that these disciplines are impacting everything that we do. Entertainment, healthcare, commerce, retail, it's even in education, and certainly relative to the work that I do. So thank you very, very much for such an informative presentation. Once again, I'm grateful to be here, everyone. My name is Danny Richer. I work in graduate and professional studies at WPI. We're located in Worcester, Massachusetts, roughly a 1-hour drive from the city of Boston, Massachusetts, and approximately a 3-hour drive from New York City. We're located in the northeast corner of the United States. And the thing that I get most excited about working at WPI is I get to see the incredible work that our faculty members and our students get to do. We always talk about the experience at WPI as putting theory into practice. The education that you get and the knowledge that is acquired by studying at WPI is incredibly impactful, but it's taken to the next level because of the great research opportunities, and students get to learn how to use that knowledge to find solutions to the problems that exist in our world, to make our lives better, and to answer questions that we have in our day-to-day lives. So WPI is an incredibly exciting place that offers tremendous opportunity. And again, it's incredibly interdisciplinary, as both of my wonderful colleagues from the faculty side have demonstrated today. If you have questions, if you have interests, if you have a passion about a certain area, WPI is a very, very good and very appropriate place for you to learn, to ask those questions, and to get this experience. I wanted to spend just a moment talking about the admission process, which is my primary function and my primary role at WPI. There are a couple of things that a student would need to do in order to apply and become a student at WPI. First of all, the application itself is available online. It's entirely electronic. So you can go to our website, wpi.edu, and you'll be able to gain access to that admission application. The parts of the application include what are called the SOP, the Statement of Purpose. This is a written statement that you provide, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Basically, what that Statement of Purpose does is it gives you an opportunity to tell us why you want to continue your education, what your interests are, why you have an appropriate background or are a good fit for that course of study. It gives us more information. We do require 3 letters of recommendation. Most often, these are from faculty members from your undergraduate institution. They also potentially could be from a current employer, a supervisor, somebody who can speak to your work experience, which leads directly to another requirement we have. We would like to see your resume. This describes to us in detail your professional experiences and how that may, again, support the course of study that you're looking to pursue at WPI. We do require all students to submit all of their academic transcripts from undergraduate institutions. This will tell us not only how successful you've been, but what type of coursework you've taken, and that will allow us to determine if you've got the necessary foundation for our exciting dynamic curriculum. So we would like you to send all of your transcripts. The students that are going to be most competitive for admission typically have a grade point average of about a 3.0 on a 4.0. I would like to mention, however, that our review process is very holistic and it is very thorough. So while we do recommend students have about a 3.0, we certainly are going to look to see the quality of classes you've taken, how that fits towards your particular major, any areas of strength that you have academically, and also how you've progressed as a student. Perhaps you've become better and achieved at a higher success level later in your academic career than earlier. These are all things that we do take into consideration. For our students that are coming to WPI, where English is not their first language, we do have a couple of options for students to submit a English language proficiency. This can be demonstrated through a couple of different ways: the TOEFL, the IELTS, or Duolingo. A student can submit any of those scores, and you can see that we typically look for an 84, a 7, or a 115 respectively on those scores. One question that we often ask is about the GRE and the GMAT. Not all of our programs require those. If a student is going to submit them as part of their application, you can see we typically look for a 150 verbal, 165 quantitative. If you have questions about the GRE or the GMAT as it relates to your specific program, the best thing to do is to reach out to us at grad@wpi.edu. That's grad@wpi.edu. These are some of the nuts and bolts requirements for the application process. Moving on, you get to see that the application is available at wpi.edu, as I mentioned. I did want to share that ETS code, and that is the code that you can enter to have your Duolingo, your IELTS, or your TOEFL score sent directly to WPI. You can type in 3969. We'll be able to receive those scores automatically. The letters of recommendation, when you fill out that application online, you will be able to enter the names and the contact information of your recommenders. They will be notified by email of the request. They'll fill out their form and it will come right back to us. All the other things, your statement of purpose, your resume, you'll have a chance to upload those or enter those directly on the application form. What I always did was I preferred to write up those things in Word, save it, and then upload it, but it's entirely up to you. That's a little bit more context about the admission process. Dates and deadlines. WPI is on a rolling admission basis. So that means as applications are received, we review them, we notify students, and you would have the opportunity to enter in the spring term or a fall term. We do recommend that if students are looking for a fall start, so the fall of 2025, we do recommend trying to submit that application by February 1st. If anybody is considering a spring semester, it is our hope that students could submit their application and materials for the spring semester by November 1st. And for our international students, that's an incredibly important date because that will put the student in the best place possible to go through the visa and I-20 process. That does take a little bit of time, so we want to make sure that students have enough time to prepare for that, go through that process, and then start in the spring semester. Once you've applied, we review. The time frame could be as little as 2 weeks. We generally say it could be up to 6 weeks. Your student will receive their admission decision. And for those students that are admitted to WPI, first of all, we congratulate them. They can notify us of their intention to study at WPI and pursue their MS, MCS, Master of Engineering, PhD, whatever the case may be, by submitting their admitted student response form. That's something that they get automatically. And for our international students, we love to share information about some of the great services that are available on campus for international students. We have an office that is called International Students and Scholars, ISS. We have graduate students coming from 6 continents. I believe it's about 63 different nations across the world. So it's a very diverse, very interesting graduate student body, and we welcome students from around the globe to study with us. I do want to mention just a little bit of information about that statement of purpose, because I think this is the one opportunity that a student has total control over right now. Your grades, your classes, your bachelor's degree, it's already in the bank, as they say. That's already completed. Right now, you have the opportunity to tell us a little bit more about your story. And please understand that we're not looking for any one thing in particular. Rather, we're looking for you to share more information with us. Highlight your achievements. What kind of accomplishments do you have, either academic or professional as a worker? What kind of research questions are you interested in? What excites you? All of this information is basically going to tell us your story, and we encourage you to be enthusiastic, be passionate, be excited, because there's great things that are happening at WPI, and this journey that you take starts with a good statement of purpose that will get us excited about you joining us in the fall or spring semester. The visa and immigration process, again, ISS, tremendously helpful for students around the globe in completing the necessary paperwork, ensuring that they've taken all the appropriate steps, and providing guidance and recommendations about what this process entails. Once a student is here on campus, ISS also helps students get acclimated by setting up perhaps a checking or an ATM account, letting students know what kind of services and what kind of activities are available on campus that they may be able to take part of. So in addition to the amazing faculty that we have many offices on campus that are geared towards helping you have the best experience possible while you're in Worcester, Massachusetts. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to join my 2 wonderful colleagues, Dr. Agu and Dr. Lee. Thank you all very much. I believe that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for such an elaborate explanation of the entire application process, admissions criteria, etc. I believe that would have helped the students a lot in going ahead with their master's applications. All right. We would now be moving towards the Q&A session. To all the 200 plus attendees who are there on this call, we request you to kindly post your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll be answering all of your questions now. All right. First question we have for Daniel. Can you tell us how can a student craft a compelling application, and what is the weightage which is given to various aspects such as their extracurricular activities, their co-curricular activities, and how does that improve their chances of being shortlisted?
That's an excellent question. The admission application review process is without question going to be two parts. One part is an academic review, and that's going to allow us to ensure that a student that's coming to us is going to be academically successful. The best way a student can demonstrate their ability to succeed academically at a rigorous institution like WPI is to have strong undergraduate grades and also appropriate courses. I'll give you an example. My undergraduate degree, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in politics, the study of government, as well as French. C'est bien. Bonjour tous mes amis. That would not make me a very appropriate candidate if I wanted to study something rigorous like electrical and computer engineering. I simply don't have the academic background necessary. I would need to do a lot of work in order to make myself prepared. Even though my GPA was good and my performance was high, academic review is about grades and also about courses. That's the first part. The second part of this application review process is very much learning about who you are as a person. Who are you as an individual? What are your interests? What makes you unique? What kind of talents do you have? What kind of work and professional experience do you have? This is an opportunity for you to talk about these things in the statement of purpose as well as your resume. Keep in mind, WPI is very, very interested in continuing to enroll very intelligent, bright, motivated, academically successful students. But we also want students to have fulfilling and enjoyable experiences. We want them to share their talents, their skills, their gifts with us. And also we want you to take advantage of this great city and great region that we're in. Northeast United States, with proximity to some of the major metropolitan areas like Boston and New York City, allows students to really have fun. So yes, I do think it's important for you to share where you have worked, what kind of research interests do you have, what do you expect or hope that your graduate school experience will be like. So if you can take your time, reflect, and then share what your story is like with us, that will put you in the best position to be successful in the admission process.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. Next question we have for you, Professor Lee. One of the students, Chiranjeevi, who has joined this call, is asking that AI might be the solution to various different global issues like climate change or pandemics, or the solution to achieving all the SDGs which are outlined by the United Nations. What kind of collaboration do you think is required between the private sector, the government sector, and the top research institutions like WPI in making a real impact to the society?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's not easy to answer, but so I can give an example. I don't know. There may be many other ways to accomplish the goal, like some collaboration between private sector and higher education institutions, for example. Me as a individual, a professor, I write to grant proposal. For example, recently I received a grant from National Science Foundation in which focusing on, mitigating, biological, diversity loss. So, my expertise is AI, computer science, and data science, but there are people, in biological science who are looking for, like AI-driven techniques to apply to their domain. So currently I am working with NGO, like a non-governmental organization focusing on wildlife trafficking, like which means basically some bad guys, they are poaching illegally, wildlife species and then, transporting and selling, to make money. So as a computer scientist, AI researcher, how can we apply our technique to prevent these, misusing behavior? So this to me, I think this is an example. So, I as a professor researcher, I collaborate with the NGO, social scientists, biological scientists, and we write proposals and get funding to the research for, bright future and, AI for social good. And also, I'm sure, higher level, WPL administrators, they are also working with and collaborating with, government and many other private sectors. And also sometimes industry partners, they actually have a needs and project ideas. So for example, as I presented before, in AI program, we offer industry-driven capstone project, so that somehow naturally, us to engage with the industry partners to work for social good. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Professor Lee. Next question we have for Professor Agu. One of the students, Sadia, who has joined us, is asking, with the increasing reliance which we currently have on large-scale data sets, data warehouses, data marts, etc., what are some of the strategies we should use to ensure that there's data quality and a reduced bias in AI systems which are being developed, or different neural network systems which are there, especially when we are working with different sensitive domains or sensitive data like healthcare or criminal justice?
Yeah, thanks so much for that. I'll probably, lean a bit on just in healthcare domain. So there's the first thing is to make sure that you have adequate representation from the different groups, right? So, make sure that you have, so for most NIH-funded studies, they look at, if you have enough data, if you propose collecting enough data, and also from different groups, especially for conditions or diseases that affect different groups differently, right? So, so that's a big part of it. You have to make sure you have enough data from the different groups, and so you have adequate representation. And then also in your pre-processing steps, you have to make sure that you don't introduce bias, and also you do a good thorough job of data preparation. So there's a whole bunch of techniques around that to deal with that. But I'll make a comment also that in the healthcare domain, one of the things that is that even though in theory when you learn these things, it's yes, include various groups, but and sometimes some groups just don't participate in the studies. So for instance, it's well known that maybe African Americans they under participate in NIH studies. So then that is a challenge in itself, even when the incentives are put out there. So wanting to do the right thing is one thing, but having also finding that making sure that the groups themselves are interested in the studies or participating or giving data. And just across the board, patients are also very difficult to collect data from. They don't show up for appointments sometimes, because sometimes even though they need the care, sometimes they lose hope and then they don't show up to give the data. So there's a very complicated set of issues that you have to grapple with. But the overarching thing is make sure you collect enough data, make sure the different groups are represented, and then during the pre-processing or data cleaning stage, make sure that you do a good job to preserve the right mix of the different groups as well.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Professor Agu. Next up, we have a question for you, Daniel. A question which Mavis is asking, and I had received another question on chat box as well, so would be clubbing both of them. So Mavis is asking, can you tell us a bit more about teaching assistantships and research assistantships which are offered to prospective students? Are these students automatically considered for this opportunity upon admission, or is there application or a review process for this? Also, and another question which has come up is how does WPY support leadership projects by students? Are there any particular startup incubators on campus which support students with that?
This is a great question. Two great questions, actually. And I certainly welcome input from my two wonderful colleagues as well. The first question is about funding. My understanding is that almost all of the teaching assistantships, TAs, and also research assistantships, RAs, are typically awarded to PhD students. For master's degree students, we do offer some additional funding supports by way of academic scholarships. These are not scholarships that students have to apply for. In essence, every student is going to be automatically considered for them. So there are no extra steps to be considered for an academic scholarship. Those will be awarded through the admission process and the criteria that we receive as part of the normal application. Those will be awarded at the time of admission, and they could be fairly substantial. In some cases, they could be up to $10,000 US dollars. I also want to say that with leadership opportunities on campus, I think the number of offices and people interested in helping students be successful across campus is amazing. And I think about things like student government, student involvement. I think about things like OPT and CPT opportunities for after graduation. While a student is on campus, I think there's great opportunities to do research, to get involved in student life, student activities. Also, an office that we haven't yet mentioned today is our Career Development Center, what we call the CDC. Career Development Center helps students with kind of basic things like updating resume. How do I share with future employers the work, the research, the things that I've been involved in at WPI? They also will host recruiting events where different companies from across different industries will come on campus to interview and hopefully hire WPI students. So I think there's tremendous opportunities for students to be involved. I would also defer to my two wonderful colleagues about any experiences they have with PAs or RAs, but I do believe those are typically given to PhD students.
Um, I, I don't know. I can talk a little bit about like a startup. That was related to the second question. Actually, one of my master's student who did the research under me, and a couple of years ago, actually, he had a really good idea. I fully supported, and then WPR also supported him. Somehow that idea. So because of WPI's funding, travel, support, he was able to actually attend the West Coast conference, to meet angelists who are, interested in listening to new idea and willing to, give some grant and fund. So actually, he secured like $700,000. So he actually, he was really interested in research, but some degree he got lots of, cool support from industry. I told him, okay, it's okay. If your dream is, actually start a company, I fully support. Actually, he did, and RPI provide this office space for his, project. So actually, he sponsored him by himself for visa and so on. I think he's doing really, really great, in terms of, starting out on his, company. And then I told him, anytime if you need any advice and any person from advisor board, I'm happy to support, you. So to me, I think it was really kind of some degree, exciting, experience for me as an advisor, see my student actually kick off his own, AI driven, cool idea for, starting a company. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Professor Lee and Daniel. Uh, Next up, we have another question which has come up from Pranav Karve from Maharashtra. I would like to direct this towards Professor Agu. So Pranav is asking, are there opportunities for students to engage in cross-disciplinary research involving machine learning, neuroscience, and biomedical engineering? Combination of all three areas. Are there such labs and facilities at WPI which help students with interdisciplinary research?
Yeah, I think in general, I think the interdisciplinary research is actually one of the strengths of WPI. I think if you go to many schools, you have departments that are well, they almost like they have silos or walls between collaborations. But the WPI is actually encouraged. So the WPI, they have a neuroscience program, which is basically, it's basically a collaboration between people in computer science, AI, and also in biology, right? You have people working also in bioinformatics, people who are, for instance, that we have colleagues who are doing things like analyzing the blood composition, like the markers in the blood, using AI and machine learning. And you have people who are working on things like adverse drug effects. You have people working on, I'm working in healthcare, which is basically, I collaborate both with people in the business school and in the health program, and also with real doctors doing research. So it's actually very encouraging, the WPI, and it's seen as a very positive thing. So to kind of give you a very, very high level answer, you have to maybe look around to see which of the existing programs you find interesting. And if that's the case, you approach the professor, and they'll be very happy to have you. But if, let's say, you have a very unique thing that you're interested in, you can also talk to a professor whose research is close to that area, who can then work with you to adapt to your specific condition interest. So because I work in healthcare, one of the things I say is that the students who work with me, they are usually they work hardest when they're working on a problem that they have personal passion about. Maybe somebody like a loved one or family member was affected by this condition, then they want to work on it, right? And I encourage that. So so when they come to me, I work with them to define the area, define the scope, see if there are existing data sets we can use to solve the problem, and then we do research. Then they're very excited about working on that topic.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Professor Agu. One last question before we close today's session, and I'd like to direct this towards Daniel. Daniel, one of the students, Janvi from India, is asking us, what are the different stay back options? Now, I know that you initially mentioned a bit on the OPT and CPT, but if you can highlight in greater detail about the stay back options for Indian students who wish to come and pursue a MS program in US?
Yeah, this is an excellent question, and I think one of the examples that Dr. Lee mentioned about an MS student who had a wonderful idea, really good experience, was motivated. There's absolutely going to be possibilities to do that. One of the key things, and Dr. Agu mentioned one of the advantages of WPI is that intercollaboration and being able to work with faculty and students across disciplines. I would say that another advantage, as it directly relates to OPT and CPT, is that almost all of our programs, even programs like our Master of Business Administration, our MBA in the business school, have a STEM designation. And that's going to be crucially important for students that are looking to take advantage of OPT and CPT. I think that there are two key areas that will help students secure these types of positions. One of them, Career Development Center, CDC. They usually have a catalog and keep up-to-date information on all of these opportunities. So I recommend students go visit the Career Development Center office, not at the end of their second year, not as they're 21, 24, 27 credits into their program, Go that very first semester, even the first week on WPI. Get familiar with the services that they have, the opportunities that are available. The CDC is great. And I cannot say enough good things about our faculty. We've had the opportunity to spend an hour with Dr. Lee and Dr. Agu this morning, who are experts in their field. They're in close contact with current students and former students. They're doing cutting edge research. They're world leaders. I think between the CDC and our tremendous faculty, students are going to be very well positioned to find gainful employment and really change the world after WPI.
Thank you so much for that, Daniel. I myself, being from the STEM background, I am tempted to hit that application right away and put up an application for fall 2025 at WPI. All right. With this, we have reached at the closure of this session. It's 10:30 a.m. in the United States, 9 o'clock in the evening. You're in India right now. Additionally, if you are looking forward to studying a MS program at Worcester Polytechnic Institute for fall 2025, you can hit the link which is sent on the chat box and schedule a one-to-one profile evaluation exclusively with Mr. Daniel Richer and get additional details as to how you can go ahead with the process. Before we close the session, I would also like to tell you all a bit more about the Seed Scholarship Fund, which is worth up to more than $3.5 million and which is here to support all the hardworking and achievable students who have joined us today. We have more than 150 plus awards in various fields such as MBA, a business master's, as well as a STEM master's, and the details for which are also going to be on the chat in a minute. Yeah. Yep, the round 2 deadline for the Seed Scholarship Fund is 30th of November. So if you are looking forward to studying a STEM Masters at top research institutes like WPI, then hit the link and register right now. Thank you so much, Professor Agu, Professor Lee, and Mr. Daniel for gracing us your time and joining with us today and sharing all the thoughts, insights on topic of artificial intelligence, data science, as well as admissions for a graduate program. Thank you so much for joining in and have a good day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.